Alpha relationship dynamics. Now, as a disclaimer, just like someone would tell you with Myers-Briggs things, two people of different personality types, any different personality types, if they want to work hard at understanding each other and at compromise, um, can make their interaction work. And so nobody can tell you that I'm an INTJ, could not hypothetically have a successful marriage with an ISFJ. This opposite perspective could, in fact, be a galvanizing sense, an energizing thing of opposite perspectives that are complementary. It could be all out war in terms of ability to understand each other, ability to compromise with each other's way of getting things done. That's an unknown quantity. Um, there is a rather famous INTJ channel, I won't tell you what it's called, um, where the man who presents it is an INTJ, and he is married to a woman who is an ISFJ, and he says it works really well. And I'm certain that has to do with division of labor and, okay, this thing is my strength, this thing is your strength. I don't know, that's a prediction. It doesn't seem like it would work for me. I think I would prefer uh, a wife with whom communication was natural and interests were similar, and um, it didn't take so much work to do things together. Now, once again, I don't know that gentleman's marriage at all. That's just how I see it from the outside. Um, they appear happy, by the way. I don't know them. I've just seen the videos. So, these are just a set of observations about alphas and relationships. Now, remember, I'm going to be making a comparison all the way down just the four main larger categories: alpha, beta, sigma, omega. Now, really, if I wanted to take all 16 combinations and bump that against all 16 combinations, we could have 256 videos about those combinations and have articulate things to say about them. But that's a lot of work, almost like its own channel, and I would have to feel like there were people that were going to watch it and enjoy it and comment to make that a worthwhile endeavor. I can make the expanded 256 square ABSORC grid and a video for each of those combinations. Nonetheless, let's just start forward here. Alpha and alpha. Two people that desire to lead will have an interesting crisis of a respect like you'd have for colleagues, but neither one getting the thing they want, because they both want someone to be their beta. They want someone to let them lead. They want someone to feel protected and safe by them. They want someone to enforce rules on to create safety and order. And if they're both trying to do that to each other, you might have constant conflict. Now, there are people that would say they love that creates spark and dynamism and creates cooperation. Now, if that's the thing you want, is to bring that spirit of conflict, because if these are both apex alphas that are fighting for control in their workplaces, if they want to bring that home, I guess, and have that vibe in their living arrangements, I guess you can. Um, I think that the sense of competition is something they'd have to be really ready for. And I believe that they would always, according to my core needs hypothesis, they would both be susceptible to any sort of beta that presented themselves as available, willing, um, desirous to be their ideal beta partner. They would both be susceptible to interference of that variety. Therefore, following that with alpha and beta. I think that because you have one person that wants to be the leader and wants to enforce rules and order, and one person that wants to be the follower and wants to have rules and order enforced on them so that they feel safety, you have a great potential for stability and a great potential for both people's needs being met and not being interfered with by, this big unmet need. With two alphas, uh, the idea that there is a third person who, or someone else who says, I'm going to be the thing that you thought that you wanted, um, it creates a weakness in the armor. That they may both be susceptible to that weakness in that armor. And then the alpha beta, which I believe would be that combination of an alpha and a beta, hypothetically more stable, because they're both giving the other one what the other one wants on a core level. Now, the reason why an alpha would go after an alpha in the first place is why I respect your goals, I respect your drive, and honestly, it's not hard to bond with people in the workplace. And so that if you were in an environment where men and women, both alphas, were competing with each other, um, you're spending 80 hours a week with your coworkers, and you work late and you bond and get to know somebody, the likelihood of two alphas becoming attracted is high. The likelihood that they could be satisfied with each other is low, or at least a great challenge. In the same fashion, I think that an alpha could be very attracted to a sigma for their goal orientation, for their work, for their intelligence, and think to themselves, well, I can be a cowboy and I can throw a lasso over this wild horse. And I think it to be virtually impossible that an alpha might succeed in taming a sigma. Once again, we're to work and difficulty and challenge and, betting on something with low odds of working. And if you did succeed, the alpha would always be kind of frustrated about, why can't I get this person to submit the way I want a beta to? And the sigma always saying, why can't I get this person to stop trying to lead me because I need my autonomy? And so then, of course, that alpha would be susceptible to an interfering beta who presented themselves as weak and attractive and wanting to be led. Um, I'm describing temptation in psychometric rather than physical terms. Obviously, they have to be physically attractive, but what would make them potentially seductive is them filling a role that no one is filling. Now we come to this third thing that's way stranger. The idea that how could an alpha ever get interested in an omega? High ranking, hard working, no complaints. Low versus low ranking, not working, high complaints. Now, I don't want to jump ahead and talk about omegas, but omegas will say yes to almost anybody because they feel like they never get any attention, and anybody is a hand up out of the mud. Anybody's an upstep. Now, we'll talk more about the mysterious upstep as relates to omegas. Relates to omegas, but I think that if you had an extremely conservative, dominant, I'm going to say extremely masculine if it's male, extremely feminine if it's female, alpha, who comes from an outside culture and is looking for a beta who is more submissive, and they're dealing with a culture where people, maybe the roles are different, and they really, really think they need somebody who is obviously in a lower position, not able to try and insurrect them. they might think for a minute that that omega is exactly what their ego needs. They might think for a minute, just like, they would think for a minute that maybe, the brains of a sigma are so attractive that maybe you don't notice that they love autonomy and you love authority. Um, I think the danger of an alpha omega coupling is as follows. I think the alpha is going to think maybe this is a low ranking beta and say, well, okay, when I enforce these rules, they get into line because they're comforted by that. They have the capacity to follow rules. They have the capacity to submit to authority. I mean, they don't mind repeating the directions, but there's a sense of eventually getting into line. But the omega does not have in general the capacity for self-control or the willingness to give up freedom of behavior. And there will be an insane amount of interpersonal conflict that goes with, why can't I get them to straighten up their behavior, compared with, why can't I get this person to stop controlling me? And there will be personal hatred eventually. Now, there may have been once attraction, and there may have been once a sense that maybe this was an alpha and beta coupling. But in fact, what it will be is something that could lead to violence, because they will grow to hate each other so much because the core needs of authority and freedom are so diametrically opposed that eventually the alpha will grow sick of, I needed my spouse to dress appropriately for this event. I needed my spouse to follow through on these 3 domestic responsibilities, and they can't. Versus, the omega saying, I needed this, this person should know that I need my freedom, I need my irresponsibility, You're supposed to acknowledge the fact that I'm a free spirit. You're supposed to acknowledge the fact that you can't control me. And there will be absolute, once again, I think it's rare that those two will want each other at all. But I think that if they find themselves entangled, there will be hatred. Please like and subscribe.